Hey friends out there in YouTube land, Rob here. Today we're going to be talking about YoloBox and YoloDeck. Let's jump right into it. Guys, we're talking about YoloBox and YoloDeck, the updates that have come with this brand new update of YoloBox. We're somewhere, I don't know, we're in June, in middle of June 2024. I don't remember what the firmware update is, but it will be in the doobly-doo down below. We're going to talk about this device and some of the awesome features that have come along with it. Now, you guys know I use YoloBox all the time, right? And I stream with it and I make some cash. Now, you see a lot of people talking about YoloBox. Big creators like Anthony Brokus and Aaron Parecki and others that talk about using YoloBox, right? And one of the things that I noticed they don't talk about a lot is that they don't talk about how they make money with YoloBox. Maybe it's because their business model is a little different. You see, I work directly with brides, directly with bands, directly with event centers, conference centers. I work directly with corporations that need live streaming. I'm streaming on location. And the reason that's important is because I've learned how to use YoloBox to make me money. Now, YoloBox makes me a lot of money. It makes streaming on location very easy. I think I want to talk about this in a way that I know a lot of new visitors that are new to YoloBox or new to streaming may have some of their questions answered. But I also want to talk about this in a way that some of you that have been around for a little while and want to think about how to use YoloBox in a different way can make some cash with it. I want to share that information with you. Because YoloBox makes me money, people often accuse me of getting free products and shilling for the company. Well, maybe that doesn't happen as much as you might think, but people have said it in the past. Guys, go to my website, roberthandphotography.com. I've shot over 500 brides. I've shot thousands of different events. My team and I work on bands. We're going all over the place. I just got through with, it's in the middle of wedding season for me. I've done 21 weekends straight of wedding work with brides. In between that, I'm doing real estate and aerial photography here in Hampton Roads. There's a lot of stuff going on. What I'm trying to say is I'm sharing with you my real thoughts and opinions. And yes, YoloDeck did get sent to me. And I got to share with you this. YoloDeck, in its current configuration, isn't something I could use very easily on location because it's hard to attach YoloDeck to a camera. Now, as soon as YC Onion comes out with a cage and I can plug in YoloDeck to YoloBox and put them on top of my cameras and camcorders, I'll be good to go. But for right now, YoloDeck is an extremely powerful, helpful tool for switching, and we're going to go into that now. So if you like what you see and you want to watch but you don't have time, grab some popcorn. And if you're thinking about going ahead and chomping on some comments and telling me something, go ahead and watch to the very end. It's so frustrating. When people make a comment before they actually know what the video's about, I'll probably answer your question somewhere. If I can help you in any way, I will. Let's get to it. This is YoloBox. I'm going to come over here and stream down here so that you can see. We've got YoloBox Ultra, we've got YoloDeck. Both of these are connected right here, and I want to bring you in for this closer view. Yes, we can see that we've got our touch screen active, and if I wanted to scroll or do something, both of those things are right there. But we can also see we've got YoloDeck over here on the side, and we've got some different menus that have popped up that's customizable for YoloDeck. Now, when we look at YoloBox, for those of you that don't know, it's a live stream switcher, audio encoder, recorder, title generator, and so much more. I want to go ahead and give you a look at what's actually around here in the room so that you can see how I'm recording YoloBox, so you'll have a better idea of how you can use YoloBox. Check it out. Camera that you're looking at right now is actually an obsbot tail layer. You can use all kinds of different cameras, but that's what you're seeing right now. And I'm wondering if maybe I'm a little bit overexposed. I've got my settings set up manually, and so I can come over here and go into my EV control, and I absolutely do. I was about one stop overexposed, so I'm glad I figured that out by switching to you guys now. Looks a lot better, doesn't it? I want to show you right here. We got a couple of camcorders. I'm one of those people I stream. I like using camcorders. 1, 2. We've got a close-up shot. I mean, well, actually kind of wide shot, and then we've got a telephoto shot here, right here from this camcorder to YoloBox and YoloDeck so that you can see. We also noticed that I'm using a microphone right here. I got a mic in front of me, and this is going to kind of get a little bit of room tone, so there might be some reverberation, but for the most part it's picking me up here because I'm going to be looking this way and I'm going to be looking that way. Now when you think about that, the microphone isn't running straight into YoloBox because I like to use YoloBox. I like to use the audio panel through one of my camcorders, usually my main camera. So I run my audio into my main camera, send that entire signal over here to YoloBox, and in my audio panel, I turn on that, which is HDMI 1, as the audio source, and I turn off audio follows video. I'll show you that in just a minute. When you look around, you might see a few lights. Yes, you need lights for a studio. So yes, this is my practice room where I play my guitars and I make music and I write songs and do all kinds of things, but it also is a studio setup. I've got my gear here for when I need to go out and do an event. Specifically, I'm providing live performance. We got 4 of these PRX1s, a couple of Eon 1 Mark IIs, a big truss TV, a bunch of different lights, and all of those things come together so that you can see the image that you're seeing. This is what's set up right now. And if we look at all of this, we're coming back over here to camera 1, if we look at all of this, we'll see that YoloBox is actually the hub. And that's the most important thing I would like for you to notice. YoloBox is the center of all the action. All of those devices I just talked about plug into YoloBox. Think of YoloBox as a computer without all the problems, right? That means that you can just plug in and go live. As YoloBox has become more sophisticated and more things have been added, and we'll touch on a few of those cursory things here in a moment, as it's become more sophisticated, it's become a little bit more difficult to stream with YoloBox than it originally was. Well, at some point in time around version 2, one-touch integration became something that was supported. And because it was supported, it was very easy for those devices to sync, or those websites to sync here with YoloBox. That meant streaming became extremely easy, almost as easy as your iPhone. Recently, the network providers, specifically social media providers such as Facebook, have changed their APIs, and they've made it difficult again for third parties like YoloBox to have one-touch integration with their streaming platforms. So sometimes you have to set up different types of services to stream. Or SRT, which is super reliable transport, which is a type of very reliable system, as opposed to SMTP or RTP, not necessarily SMTP, that's mail, but you get what I'm saying. Those different types of servers are things that are in your setup for your encoding that we'll talk about in just a minute. They get a little technical, but generally speaking, switching with YoloBox between different services is extremely simple. Now, we've talked about what it can do as far as getting all of your hub devices into it. That means that when YoloBox experiences a problem, which many new users will experience, I'm just letting you know, if you're live streaming for the first time, even some seasoned professionals that aren't used to this type of hardware will have a hard time sometimes, but you have to troubleshoot it. All of those individual devices have to figure out how to talk to YoloBox. So if you don't know how to configure all of your devices to talk to YoloBox, you may not get the most premium results. Meaning, right here I'm recording internal to YoloBox right now, if you didn't know. And I'm recording at 30 frames per second. It's all right here. We can see I'm recording at 30 frames per second. I'm recording my program, and I'm recording in 1080p at 5,000 kilobits per second. Okay. All of those things are great, but if I just plug in any of these camcorders or cameras, it's going to send a signal out at 4K, or whatever my current default is. Most of you will be defaulting to 4K, which means YoloBox has to do some additional processing work to downconvert that for its recording, or in your case, streaming and encoding and sending, so that the file can be sent. So when I talk about needing to know some little industry things or just some experience items, those are the types of things I'm talking about, because it'd be better if you just turned your HDMI signal out to match YoloBox's expected resolution. The bitrate doesn't matter so much. It'll take care of that when it comes in, but it's looking for a frame rate and resolution. If you do that, you'll have way fewer problems, specifically with dropouts when taxing devices very high, meaning you got a high workload on it. Now, YoloBox Pro and YoloBox Ultra don't really seem to have a problem with that. YoloBox, the original, and InStream sometimes, and sometimes YoloBox Mini have an issue with too many inputs because, well, maybe not so much InStream, but because of that reason right there of maybe there being different processor that are in those devices. If you're experiencing dropouts and things like that, it's other ways that you can go around them, and that's the type of industry experience that I'm kind of trying to discuss here. I want to come back over here to part number 3. So we can see over here in camera 3, and I'm just showing so that you can see I'm pressing YoloDeck and it's moving around on the cameras. But I want to remind you that all of this is just the physical connection. Before we even talk about it, you also have to have an internet connection, whether it be wireless, whether it be a SIM card, or whether it be a dongle, a USB dongle. You have to have one of those in order to get your signal out. You can also use Ethernet, which is right here. You can bond your signal with several different types of connections, such as Ethernet, Wi-Fi dongle, and SIM card, through the bonding app. YoloBox supports bonding internally, which is absolutely awesome. So when we look at the things that YoloBox lets you do, hardware and then connectivity-wise, it's really quite amazing. Let's talk a little bit about audio. We said we'd talk about audio in a minute, and I'm switching over here to the audio panel, and I'm going to come over here so that you can see a little bit closer. I'm actually in the audio panel right here, and I want you to see this all up here. When I turn on YoloBox, I do exactly like I said. I come over here to my HDMI 1, and I turn it on. HDMI 1 is this angle. It's this camera angle that you're seeing right here. That one. Okay? And when I have that camera angle turned on, that's the audio that's coming into YoloBox. Notice HDMI 3 is off, HDMI 2 is off, and audio follows video is off. But also notice program audio is on. This is very important because if program audio isn't on, it won't give your program, which is the screen that you're seeing, the projected screen, it won't have any audio being sent out. Isn't that crazy? So you need to turn your program audio on. One last thing I want to talk about as we're over here in the audio panel is I want to show you these sliders. These sliders represent gain, plus 10 decibels, minus 10 decibels. They also represent latency, 0 milliseconds of latency, all the way up to 450 milliseconds of latency. That's half a second of latency. There's a lot that's going on here. But what that allows you to do is dial in specific latency for each camera if you have one. Now, when you're running with cameras and you're not using the audio like I showed you with tied to one camera, dialing in your audio from camera to camera is a little bit more difficult because you would be running audio straight into YoloBox and then trying to sync the audio coming into YoloBox from an external source with the camera's audio, not so that you could hear the audio from the camera necessarily, but so that the lips would be synchronized with the audio that you're bringing in. One of the benefits that you get from running your audio the way that I discussed, which is into your main camera when possible, and then using that audio as the source, like I'm doing here, HDMI 1 for the entire program, that means that your audio is already in sync, at least with one camera directly. And what we're going to find out is because cameras, video, and audio run at different speeds, when the HDMI cable connects those things together as a single output and others do the same, it's more likely to be in sync than not. So there's a pro tip number 2 that we're talking about. We're chock full of stuff and we haven't even gotten far into it. I want to talk about a couple other things. As we're about 15 minutes into the program, I want to now kind of switch to some of the things that YoloBox does well for me. First of all, as we're looking right here, let me come back over to part 2, right? And I'm actually going to come over here and I'm going to maximize the screen so that you can see it nice and big, just like this. Okay, while the screen's maximized, it's really cool that I can pop different overlays onto the screen. You see that popping up? I can even use my own overlays, or I can pop up completely different glitch type or GIF overlays, no sound on these, to have my own type of things that I need to pop up as they pop up. Okay, so the reason that all of this is important, you like how that screen wobbles right there? You get the infinity? The reason that all of that is important is because YoloBox is a complete and total title generator before you even get started. It supports PDF, it supports JPEGs, it supports GIFs, and that's in the title generation. Generating a title is actually pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead and minimize the screen right here. I did that just by pressing the on camera overlay. And I'm going to come over here to camera 2 so that you can see a little bit closer. If we scroll through and I come over here to my audio or my overlay panel, I want you to notice just how easy it is for me to tap on one of these. And then it shows up as you see right here. But if I tap and hold, I can actually reorder it, do a lot of different things with it. One of the things I can do is edit it. Now that we're edited, we can come over here, we can change the font color, we can change, of course, what we're saying, we can change the text size, smaller, and we can write our own fonts, and we can choose all of our own different menus. This is extremely powerful. Now, we can actually add different types of menus, but I'm gonna leave it at that. We can add lower thirds, titles, scrolls, bugs, and pop-ups, all right here. There's even something else that we can do. And this is even more awesome. Let's say you have a web-generated title that you would like to use, or a GIF, or an animation, and you keep all of those things in a Dropbox file or someplace online. Well, you can actually access all of that right there through the generator and pull those web overlays directly into YoloBox. That is awesome. Let's move over here to something else that's very important. You might say, Rob, we see your title overlays. We come over here and we see that you've got the audio. We've got Scoreboard. We'll talk about that, but it's just like what you think. We've got replay, which is really cool. We've got recording, which is what you've showed us. We've got switching. I'll show you that in a minute. We've got some settings. How do you add a video source? Well, guys, it's as simple as just clicking over here, add video source. Now, you can't see directly what's happening right now, but when you do that, you have all different types of views that pop up that you can add, which allows you to add sources. Depending on the YoloBox model that you can have all of your HDMI inputs plus one USB input. So in this case, the YoloBox Ultra has 4 HDMI inputs, so that's 4 sources plus one USB input, which is great. But that's not all. You can actually add an RTMP service or request people to join simply by sending them a link. So you can invite a guest remotely through a telephone, through a computer, or whatever they're on, as long as they can access, it has a camera and a microphone, they can join. Isn't that crazy? Let's talk about something else you can do. I'm going to come over here to source number 2, which is the zoomed in cam so that you can see. And I'm going to press over here. If you see when I've pressed that, let me see if I can come in a little closer for you. Maybe, well, I can't come in closer without messing up that angle. I'm going to do that right now. But we can chroma key, we can flip horizontal, rotate 90 degrees. We can, of course, rename it, flip vertical, and we can crop it. Chroma keying is going to allow us to do a couple of very important things. One of which is to change or get rid of a background. I don't use chroma keying very much because I like my background, but many people use chroma keying. It's such a useful tool in order to use YoloBox and create an immersive environment. Through chroma keying, you can create a set in the background that looks good for you, as well as have a TV or something, or the frame of a TV, and you can put graphics in it through the overlay function that we use, which also allows you to use images, like we said, JPEGs. You can scale, rotate, twist, and move that image to where you want it on the screen so that it fits that spot perfectly. Think about news anchors, you can roll video there, all kinds of stuff can happen. It's really, really great. So if you've got some reporting to do, that's the way to do it. When we look at this some more, we're gonna find that there's a lot that goes on here. When we think about our use of scoreboards, we've got all kinds of stuff that happens. You see the scoreboard just popped up, right? And I can take the scoreboard and move it wherever I want, and I can have it do whatever I want it to do. I'm gonna go ahead and click yes, scoreboard's there, and when I come back to my scoreboard, I can actually name the teams and do all of that other stuff. It's right here. As we move on forward, yes, if we want to, I'm currently recording. Since it's recording, I could turn on instant replay, and then we could choose the instant replay settings that we've got right here. This feature is absolutely amazing, and I love it completely. Although I don't use it very much for weddings, you could see where it would be very important, however. Recording, we've already talked about that right here, but this is one of my favorite places. When you're not in a local recording option, which is from the main screen, but you're in a live stream option, this is where you'll get your frame rate and settings so that you can choose constant bitrate, variable bitrate, or constant quality, CQ, and all the other frame rates and bit rates. Here I'm going to come over here and I want to define a couple of auto switching sources. First of all, I'm going to define my video sources, 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to go back. And then I'm going to set them for just a few seconds each so that you can see. How about 5 seconds each? You can see how I'm setting this. I just want you to see how this is great. Do you know I love this? This is my most used feature. We're going to turn it on. Boom. Now, all the switching that you're going to see is happening automatically. And as you could imagine, that is so helpful when you've got multiple cameras connected for a live bridal wedding ceremony. It's just great, right? So it's very simple to simply turn on auto switch and let your cameras do what they're got to do. Okay, so you got 3 static cameras set up and you got one person going around with a moving camera. The 3 cameras are all connected via wireless HDMI transmitters or static Ethernet or just HDMI lines depending on where they are. And then, yeah, it's just going around and switching. All of that is being done for you. You don't have to do anything. You can simply monitor it. Man, it is a time-saving tool that I like quite a bit. So when we think about all those features, there's a couple of other things that we haven't talked about that we're going to jump into now. And we haven't gotten into YoloDeck, but we're going to get there. YoloDeck is very simple, but it's extremely powerful. Let's move over here so we can see it a little bit closer. And I'm going to maximize the screen so that you can see this screen a little bit better as well. Well, I guess I won't because we need to be right here in the source layout. When you look, you're going to see your video source layout will tell you how large of video files you're going to see. Notice it changes, 3 in a row or 2 in a row, 3 in a row or 4 in a row, which is real nice. Then we've got SD card management. It's going to show us how much space is left and what we can actually do. Finally, we've got portable storage, which we don't have any USB connected. So if you think that wasn't enough, let's look at a couple of other really cool things. Going back over here, we've got our mobile web controls. Mobile web controls are really awesome. It allows us to connect our phone to YoloBox using a local network. It works great, latency is nice and low, and I like it quite a bit. It's really simple to set up, just follow these instructions right here. As we can continue on down, we've got tools and order. This just allows us to move the different order of our overlays and things around. We can change that to make it easier to get to one thing or another. As we look and we see, we can come down here to the YoloDeck configuration. Now, when we move down here, we come into our YoloDeck configuration. As you look at the YoloDeck configuration, you see that we've actually got... So now we're in the YoloDeck configuration. If I press this, it's going to come up with a pop-up and allow you to see what we actually have over in YoloDeck. YoloDeck is actually very simple to configure. You got 50 or 60 different commands that you can slide onto a virtual representation of YoloDeck right here. It's just a small little keypad that looks the same from place to place. This allows you to set whatever you would like and have multiple pages of scrolling items that you can choose from. And it just loops as you scroll through. So currently I got source 1, but if we come over here, you'll see source 2. And I can scroll through the different sources that I've got. These are just different pages. Now, if I click max, you'll see that it goes max right here. That just allows the screen to go max. And you've got things that also that off so that you don't have to see it for too long, but we've got fade to black and things like that. So you can not only change your sources, you can also do other administrative or like feature like user improvement type of things that allows you to use YoloBox a little bit nicer. We've also got program audio. If you press program audio, it'll turn it on and off. That'll give you a mute. Don't do that while you're recording. I hope you'll enjoy that live demonstration right there. As we're looking at this, setting this up and using it is really just as simple as it looks. Out of the box, this is the source that you get. Go live, record, fade to black, page left, page right, and then your sources 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and your overlays 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you look at all of these things together, it makes for a very simple, easy to use device. All of that, all in all, put together, make YoloBox Pro, YoloBox Ultra, YoloDeck a very powerful tool to use for live streaming. I think the final thing I'd like to talk to you guys about is how you would use YoloDeck and YoloBox together in order to have something working quick, fast, and easy. I think you could use it for anything that was like a studio environment or anything that you needed to be have a multiple source switching solution put together in one package. Like showing up someplace and switching and having all of these tools available to you means that you could show up for a podcast. You could very easily do seminars or training centers or training programs for different businesses and things like that. This extends out to live sales when you wanted to think about stuff like on Facebook, if you want to do vertical Facebook live sales, if you wanted to have anything along those lines, this would work well. Mainly because let's pretend you were doing some live sales. Let's say you want to do some advertising. Let's say you liked guitars and you wanted to have a show about guitars, but you also wanted to, I don't know, sell strings that you have a specific thing for. So you could do your whole thing right there and you could talk about that, and then you could hit your overlay that talks about your streams, your springs, your streams. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Come over here, hit max so that you can see a little bit better. We're over here. Let's say we'll do that again. Let's say you had something you like guitars and you're doing guitars and everything else, and then you wanted to sell some strings. Well, you could very easily Just put your overlay up there for your different strings. You'd have all these things available. That could be a QR code so that people could go and purchase. Same kind of thing as if this was like some kind of live fashion, right? You could have different videos that were queued as your sources to play, so that if you wanted a particular video to play as an interim moment between switching out styles or something like that, or if you wanted to have a pre-recorded ad so that you could show off a sponsorship spot. Yeah, that's a great one. Let's say you had a podcast and you wanted to do sponsorships and you wanted to sell those to local businesses, or someone wanted to sponsor you. You could sell that amount of time in your setup, and it would be as easy as assigning it to a source. It's pretty simple. Let's add that source. I'm just going to add a local video. And I'll add this one. Done. Okay, so we kept recording. You probably saw my face. I had to think for a second. So now we got local video, and that is this source right here. And now you see local video. So let me make sure that my local video audio is actually not playing. I'm gonna come over here to my audio panel. Local video 1, audio is off. Great. So now as we're sitting right here, I'll hit my source 5. I guess that's actually source 4. I'll hit source 4 and I'll make it large so that you can see. There it is. And you can hear everything that I'm saying, right? And you can see this is part of a live stream that we would do for a wedding. This is the intro video prior to the wedding beginning. It's actually like the waiting room video, which is what it would be as people were waiting to begin. So there you go. I've talked about YoloBox. I've talked about YoloDeck, the way I think that you can use it to make some money, the points in which it works for me, and the most important part of all this, you are seeing everything here has been recorded live on YoloBox Ultra. So all of this happened in real time, no editing, no color correction, no nothing, and at the frame rate and bit rate that we talked about earlier, which is 30 frames a second at 5,000 kilobits, and you get to see, you get to hear all of it. If that doesn't convince you, if you are not entertained, if that doesn't convince you, man, you're in the wrong business. You're looking for something else. I'm just telling you, this right here makes me money. I don't argue with it. I fix it when it needs fixing. I figure it out when it needs figuring out. And technology needs that sometimes. Heck, your iPhone requires restarts. So does your Mac or Windows PC. When's the last time you got an update on Windows? Every month, right? Your Android phone gets updates each month, or at least mine does. Right? These things happen, right? But doggone, man, does it make life easy with all this equipment. Guys, I'm Rob with Robert Hand Photography. I hope I have answered your question. If I haven't, hit me up in the comments down below. Leave me a cup of coffee if you found this helpful using my PayPal links. If you want to really support me, go ahead and buy your detergent or whatever you get off of Amazon. I won't know what it is, but use my links and I'll get a little kickback. If you want one of these, go ahead and purchase it from my link on Amazon. I'd really appreciate it. Guys, I'm Rob. I want to thank you so much for watching and remind you I will catch you on the flip side. Bye for now.